Good evening. I'm Rebecca Lopez, the Senior Crime and Justice Reporter with WFAA, and I'm joined by my colleague, Cole Sullivan. We're also going to be joined in a minute with my other colleague, Scoop Jefferson. And we have breaking news. It's a dramatic reversal from one of North Texas' most high-profile police leaders. Former Dallas Police Chief Eddie Garcia is now one of 4 finalists in the running to become the next chief of Fort Worth. I first started hearing some of these rumors coming out of Fort Worth probably a few weeks ago, and now sources say it's official.
And sources have confirmed all 4 candidates to WFAA. Interim Fort Worth Police Chief Robert Alldredge has 25 years in the department. He's a U.S. Air Force veteran. He's led tactical operations, internal affairs, and Central Patrol. He's respected for his operational experience. But community leaders right now, Rebecca, are watching to see if he's willing to push through real reform.
And a third candidate is former Dallas Deputy Chief Vernon Hale. He's an Oak Cliff native, and he has led major divisions with DPD before serving as the police chief in Galveston and former assistant chief in Prince George County, Maryland. Known for his calm, under pressure demeanor, Hale has navigated high-profile use of force incidents and built strong ties with communities. He's still serving as Deputy Chief is our next candidate.
Our next candidate here, one of the 4, and forgive me, I may not get this name exactly right, a deputy chief in Los Angeles. This is Emada Tingirides, I believe. She's best known for co-creating the Community Safety Partnership, a national model for building police community trust. Her work has been credited with reducing crime and repairing deep rifts in neighborhoods with a history of strained relations with law enforcement. But the real headline here is Eddie Garcia. Rebecca.
Yeah, that is shocking because Garcia left last fall when he resigned to take a civilian job in Austin, working alongside former Dallas City Manager T.C. Broadnax, just weeks after signing a contract extension to stay through 2027. The deal included a 6-figure retention bonus. His departure caught many off guard, but now his sudden return to law enforcement has people talking on both sides of the Trinity. During his nearly 3-year tenure in Dallas, Garcia was widely credited with stabilizing a department that was in crisis. He implemented a data-driven crime plan that helped reduce violent crime, rebuilt trust with the community, and boosted morale inside the department. But he's not the only candidate, as we said, bringing those serious credentials to the table.
And all 4 candidates out here have a blend of experience, local roots, they have national leadership models and national recognition, and in Garcia's case, now a re-entry into law enforcement after some not that long away. I think a lot of folks surprised by that.
Yeah, so Cole, you've been trying to reach out to Dallas city leaders. I can imagine that I think that some people probably already had an idea that this was coming, but I can't imagine what the reaction is in Dallas right now.
You know, I was trying to get a sense of that, Rebecca, because I was going back to when Eddie Garcia left Dallas and the heartbreak that so many city leaders in Dallas felt about his departure. The mayor cried during his last city council meeting, and all across the horseshoe, every single person on that city council horseshoe at the time talked about just how impactful Eddie Garcia had been and how sad they were to lose him to Austin to a non-police role, right? An oversight role, a city administration role there. They all said they understood this was a step in his career moving forward. This was a step out of having to wake up at 1 a.m. with phone calls about whatever has happened overnight on a weekend night. But now this change, not that long after he took off a uniform, putting one back on again, Rebecca. I mean, you've talked to Eddie Garcia multiple times. This is not a decision that I'm sure he's taking lightly in any way.
Yeah, and he's not confirming for us that he is on the finalist list, but
You've talked to him multiple times
since he left.
Say.
I know that he was. He's got a daughter in Fort Worth. He also loves policing. I think that policing is really in his blood. He spent almost a year in Austin, and I think that in the end, he probably just decided, you know what, policing is probably where I need to be. Obviously, the police chief of Dallas was already filled. There's no position in Dallas, and also I think that he really just loves North Texas. He loves Fort Worth. He spent a lot of time in Fort Worth because his daughter is at TCU. And so I think that, you know, he's very excited about the possibility. Again, he's not confirming anything. He's not making any comments, but I think that that would probably excite him to try to come back to DFW.
And obviously this is one of 4 candidates we have here for this job in Fort Worth, and someone who knows Fort Worth probably better than you or I is Scoop Jefferson, our colleague who works on the Tarrant side there. Scoop, you're looking at all 4 of these candidates here. What are you hearing? What stands out to you?
What's crazy is several months ago, Chief Garcia's name came up, and sources tell me that he was actually given a telephone call and asked to put in his application for the Fort Worth police chief. Whoever becomes chief will be responsible for 1,743 sworn officers and 438 civilians who work for the city of Fort Worth. And depending on who you talk to, there are a lot of people who are excited that Garcia's name has surfaced in this search. And again, depending on who you talk to, there are people who are also excited about Assistant Chief Robert Alldredge, who is serving as the interim chief as well, who joined the Fort Worth Police Department back in 1999. As you know, Eddie Garcia and former police chief Neil Noakes, very close, became friends early on in their careers. And I have actually been texting with Chief Noakes today, who was watching this. And, his first response when I texted him was, "Oh, this is going to get interesting now." And of course, his big concern is making sure that whoever becomes police chief can continue some of the work that he started here at the Fort Worth Police Department after 25 years. Again, he's closely watching, and he told me today that he'll make himself available to make sure whoever becomes chief is successful at the job. Because as you know, Fort Worth is one of the fastest growing cities in the country. And whoever becomes police chief is going to have a huge responsibility. So a lot of buzz, a lot of talk among city leaders and community leaders here. So they are watching this closely. And one of the things that they're really excited about is the fact that now that we know who's made the final cut, people are anxious to actually sit down and talk with these candidates. What are your plans for the city? What are your plans for public safety? What are your plans for fighting crime? What are your plans for the youth in Fort Worth? So a lot of city leaders and community leaders looking forward to this next step in the search for the police chief.
Yeah, and Scoop, we got a comment from Councilman Michael Crane, who said that he just wants to know that whoever the next chief is very much dedicated to building that bridge with the community, but also supporting every single person with the Fort Worth Police Department. And I can speak for Eddie Garcia because I covered him for the 3 years that he was here in Dallas. He unlike any other police chief that I've ever covered, he has been able to bridge the gap between the community and the police, but also with the associations. He was very popular with the associations. He was popular with the media. He was popular with the council, and definitely popular with the community. And I've never seen a police chief be able to bring that coalition like that together. Now, having said that, I also know Vernon Hale very well. Vernon was a deputy chief here in Dallas. He was very much about community-based policing. He went to Galveston. He had some really high-profile officer-involved scandals, so to speak, and he handled those with a lot of grace and a lot of professionalism. He has been in Prince George County in Maryland as an assistant chief to the former assistant chief here in Dallas, Malik Aziz, and those two have really worked closely together. In fact, Chief Hale was on the scene when the plane and the helicopter crashed a few months ago, and he was with his officers. He also comforted those officers who, were just distraught about what they saw during that tragedy. So I do know that Vernon Hale also has a lot of experience. We just don't know a lot about the deputy chief that is currently the deputy chief in LA.
And one of the things, Scoop, and I'm interested in your thoughts on this, because I and Rebecca as well spent some time covering the police chief search here in Dallas, and there was a lot of kind of the betting money, the smart money, if you will, was on the person who was in the job as an interim in that position. Obviously, that's not what ended up happening here in Dallas. But what can you tell us about, obviously Eddie Garcia is a familiar name to folks in Fort Worth, having seen what he did here in Dallas. Does that shake up this race and maybe in favor or against the person who's already doing the job on an interim basis?
It shakes it up a lot. It shakes up a lot. When Garcia's name first surfaced, a lot of officers, I talked to a lot of officers who were excited, but then Also, the interim chief, Alldredge, he's grown up in the Fort Worth Police Department. He has a lot of friends. They've gone through some tough times. They've lost officers together. They've mourned. They've experienced successes fighting crime together. So it shakes it up a lot because you have somebody who is popular, whose work has gained national attention, and then you have someone in the department who has come up through the ranks, who has helped develop develop the department. So it does shake it up a lot. So it'll be interesting to see how they are greeted and received in the community, because that's going to be a huge part of the selection process. Because as you know, when we went through the selection for the city manager, the city took some heat for not allowing the community as much input as they wanted. And so there's this promise of transparency now that when this selection process gets to the point where they are meeting the community will be able to come in and ask questions to try their best to get to know who's going to be leading the city when it comes to being the next top cop here in Fort Worth.
And what's interesting is that we're hearing that there are forums planned for mid-August, so they're going to take their time vetting all of these other candidates that they're not familiar with. Of course, again, you know Eddie Garcia, but there's going to be some vetting process, and we know that there is going to be a forum where the community is going to be allowed to ask questions. I keep hearing, Scoop, I don't know if you've heard this, but I keep hearing that by mid-August, it'll be down to 2 candidates instead of 4.
Yeah, and that's very well possible. Today, City Manager Jay Chapa actually emailed these 4 candidates, letting them know that they are the finalists. And I did hear from one of my sources that he kind of put like a 2-week timetable on the next step. So they are taking their time. Again, there is Fort Worth PD has even set up a website for the community to go on and make comments and suggestions. And during this process, even getting down to this 4, they did bring in stakeholders to ask questions about what type of police chief do you want? What type of police chief do you think will serve our city best next, and as the city continues to grow?
And all 4 of these candidates come with a significant amount of experience,
Yeah,
right? I mean,
absolutely.
there's no one on here who you look at and say, oh, that person isn't necessarily ready for this job. They're all coming from big departments or having grown up in the area and some of the big departments we have here. So it will be very interesting to see what the community thinks and what the leaders in Fort Worth
And I also want to give a shout out to our other colleague, Adriana de Alba, who was driving in actually from Chicago. She had this like whole mishap with airplanes and everything, and she got caught up in some American Airlines. It's been a mess, yeah, and weather. But Adriana was able to also help us confirm these names, so we really want to thank her for helping us break this story. She's also been talking to some of the city leaders who seemed, very excited about this list. We did also interview Mayor Maddie Parker. We don't have her interview back in house, but our colleague Matt Howerton interviewed her. So I'm really, I can't wait to hear what she has to say about this process and what she thinks of the finalists. But again, Cole, where is the Dallas City leadership? I've been texting the city manager. We've contacted the mayor. I can imagine they probably just don't want to comment about this right now.
This is a big loss for the city.
Yeah.
It was a big loss for the city of Dallas in the fall when Chief Garcia left. I think seeing him go to the city next door is a bitter pill to swallow if that's ended up what happening. I think even seeing him on the list of a possibility of going to the city next door is a tough pill to swallow as well.
I can't imagine, Scoop, what the promos are going to be like and the recruitment when Fort Worth, if Garcia were to get the job, how Fort Worth would capitalize on that.
Actually, I've actually heard from a small amount of Dallas police officers who love Eddie Garcia. And so, as you know, both departments are in a serious campaign to hire more officers, to get them on the streets, especially Dallas police with their efforts to hire hundreds of officers. It'll be interesting to see too if Garcia is the selected one. how that would play out in the rank and files as well. Now, I can tell you that a couple of weeks at the city council meeting, I did have a one-on-one conversation with Interim Chief Alldredge. He, again, has spent most of his career in Fort Worth PD. He has a really, really strong desire to lead the department. He believes he has what it takes, but he knows he's up against a very popular police chief. That was our conversation. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, any idea? I mean, I do know that when Chief Garcia left and then interim Chief Mike Igo took over, and then when they hired Chief Como, that Chief Igo, decided that it was better for him to move on. I'm curious to see if Eddie Garcia were to be hired, what would be the other candidates? Yes, if they would. If he would stay.
If Chief Alldredge would stay. I mean, it would be interesting to see, Scoop. Obviously, this is all going to play out over the next month or a little bit more than that. Give us a sense of what you know about what happens next in the process.
Next in the process, as you said, we may end up going down to 2 candidates, but the company that is doing the recruiting will again arrange where the city council members will officially learn this list, because I'm not sure, did they, and maybe one of you can answer this, did they officially release this list, or did we bust this out?
No, the list has not been officially released to the council, although I think that they have now made calls to confirm, because we have heard from multiple leaders within the city of Fort Worth that they seem to know who the 4 candidates are, the reaction of who the 4 candidates are. And so I'm sure that, they'll all be involved in this tomorrow. I think that there's going to be some sort of press release that comes out as well.
Yeah, and we'll be
several community stakeholders here who are looking forward and have been told that they would be part of the process. They would be able to come in, meet the candidates, whether that's the final 4 or the final 2, we don't know yet. But again, Fort Worth PD has set up a website to try to be as transparent as possible in this process. One of the things in a situation like this, and I've seen this all over the country, covering police in other markets, that just because you have a number 1 candidate that you really think is going to get the job, you got to make sure that if it doesn't work out, you still have a number 2 candidate that is just as qualified, that is just as good, that you can fall back on. So it'll be interesting to see if we stay at these 4 candidates or if we get it down to 2, because as you know, we learned today that there was 5 candidates, but that 5th candidate withdrew themselves from the process.
Yeah. Well, Scoop, thank you so much. I know that you're actually on PTO, and like we're never on PTO. Like I've literally been in Disneyland and done live shots or call on the phone.
Why you two are the best.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you so much. And Cole, we're obviously going to have a lot more of this coming up at 10 with reaction from Maddie Parker, and we'll have a lot more on the candidates
as well, and of course on WFA.com and here on WFA Plus as well. Thanks for joining us.